I'd like to welcome you to the play briefing of The Great Gatsby, co-produced by Queensland Theatre Company and Shake and Stir Theatre Company. I'd like to start tonight by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands that we're meeting on tonight, the Yagara and Turrbal people, and to pay my respects to elders past and present. This production of The Great Gatsby has just had 3 previews in Toowoomba in the beautiful Empire Theatre over the weekend, Thursday and Friday. And at the moment, it's currently being bumped into the Playhouse for a season here at QPAC between February the 12th, this Thursday, and the 8th of March. Will you please join me in welcoming the extraordinary cast and company of The Great Gatsby, our creative team, our stage management team, maybe if they come on stage, and of course our full cast. Thanks very much. Now we're just going to see if we can fit everybody. See, there's a lot of them. And this is probably about a quarter or a third of actually the number of people who've gone into building this production. It's incredibly ambitious. Now, most of you are probably very used to how tonight will unfold. We're going to have a discussion up here, and then about halfway through, we will open discussion out to you, and you're able to ask whatever niggly questions you'd like to about anything that we maybe have not touched on. There are going to be a number of people here who are very familiar to you, and perhaps a few that are not. So what I'm going to do is get everybody to introduce themselves and tell you what their role in this production is, and then we're going to start asking questions. Would you like to start, Christina?
Hi, I'm Christina Smith. I'm the set and costume designer.
Hi, I'm Nerida Matei. I'm the choreographer, movement director and intimacy coordinator.
Serious.
First question.
Intimacy.
My name is Guy Webster. I'm a composer and sound designer.
Ooh. My name is Nick Scooby and I'm the co-director of the production and the co-artistic director of Shake and Stir Theatre Company.
Ooh. Ooh. Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Evans. You can call me Dan. I am the artistic director of Queensland Theatre Company. It's very strange not to be where you are, Kristen, tonight. And I am the co-adapter and co-director of The Great Gatsby.
Good evening. Trent Sudgeese, lighting and smoke design, I would say. Just because everyone gets an and.
Hello, my name is Nellie, and I am a co-adapter with Daniel, who we can call Dan, and I'm also part of the ensemble.
Hello, I'm Shiv Palika, and I'm one of the cast. I'm playing Jay Gatsby.
G'day, guys. My name is Donane Garbo. I play Wolfsheim among 11 other characters. Ooh.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeremiah Ray, and I'm playing Tom Buchanan.
Hi, my name is Rachel Nucci, and I'm part of the ensemble.
Hello, my name is Lauren Hunter, and I play Catherine Singer and many other parts.
Oh.
Hello, my name is Ryan Hodson, and I play Nick Carraway.
Hi, I'm Ethan Lewin. I am part of the ensemble.
Hello, I'm Bridget Freem, and I am the female swing.
Hello, my name's Jess Vickers, and I'm playing Daisy Buchanan.
Hi, I'm Libby Munro, and I'm playing Jordan and ensemble.
Hello, my name is Sean Sinclair, and I'm on-stage male cover.
Hi, my name's Yanni, and I sat down because there was an empty chair. I'm also the stage manager of the show.
Okay, let's start. I'm going to start my first question for Nick and Nellie, and Ross is not here, he's up the back. But I have heard that The Great Gatsby was on your wish list for a long time to produce, and I'd be interested to know why. And also, because you're a company that's renowned for really bold, visionary reimaginings of classics, what this co-production with Queensland Theatre has been able to bring, because it's the first one I imagine that you guys have had, and congratulations on 20 years of Shake and Stir, quite an achievement in this industry, let me say. What has that collaboration given you that perhaps a production that you would have mounted yourself would not have enabled you to do?
It's between Ross, Nick and myself, we have a collection of classics. We are big literature lovers, obviously, and as we anytime that we're brainstorming or discussing programming for our season, Gatsby has been coming up for the better part of the last decade, and we've known Dan for how long? For basically the whole time that I met Dan before we had started Shake and Stir. So we came through the independent scene together, and we're obviously really big fans of his work. And when he took the reins at Queensland Theatre Company, we started discussing, how we might collaborate together, and Gatsby was one of those titles that both companies had been speaking about, and it is famous for a reason. There's lots of things that are very well known in the novel, and some things that people assume they know, and then when they revisit it again, they're like, oh, that's a little bit different. And there's a sense of nostalgia that Fitzgerald wrote in the novel that we were all really drawn towards. And we're really excited to present and adapt for the stage.
Just quickly talking to what it sort of means to do the co-production, I think that, Shake and Stir has been touring work throughout the country for the better part of that 20 years, and we're really interested in creating large-scale work here in Queensland and then taking that work to the country. We think it doesn't have to always be work that's originated outside of Queensland that we eventually get to see here, so, originating stuff that plays and plays and plays. And I think it was just a real good kind of combination of the right time and the right place and the right piece at our 20th birthday celebrations. It's a big party show, so that was one thing. But, it had to be about what each of us together could achieve that independently we couldn't, and I guess it's allowed us to bring a scale to the collaboration, and we're really interested in hoping to, it's already played Toowoomba last week, and we've had a couple of previews, so we're excited to hone it here in Brisbane, and then hopefully see if we can give it a long life. But it's been an excellent collaboration. It's always interesting when you work with a partner for the first time. You each bring your own quirks and features, and that can be really great, and that can be sort of, oh, okay, this is an interesting way of working. But I think it's ultimately proven a very, rewarding and very fruitful, let's not call it yet, but let's say it's been a very rewarding and a very, engaging and fun experience.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Dan and Nellie, I'd like to speak now a little bit about the adaptation, because, of course, you are wearing, like a lot of people are wearing, multiple hats in this production. And you are both playwrights in your own right and have adapted this work, but also, Dan, you're co-directing, and Nellie, you're also performing. You've spoken, Nellie, about the sense of nostalgia, and Nick, you've mentioned the level of spectacle in the work. But there's also, of course, there are the great parallels between it and Heart of Darkness, Conrad's Heart of Darkness, of course. And I wondered, for you as adapters, what do you feel lies in the underbelly of the work, and what is the dark heart that was imperative for you as translators, or adapters rather, to interrogate in 2026 in this adaptation?
Oh, that's a very good question. I could do a TED talk on this. I think it is a beautiful, scintillating novel. It is very poetic. It is very elusive, and we've used that word a lot because a lot of the characters feel unknowable, and a lot of the scenes that are very famous in the play, you don't actually actually hear or see the details of them inside of the book, because of course all of it is a recount through the memory of one Nick Carraway. And so it's very much through his POV. I think to speak to the dark heart of it, or the glittering heart of it, it felt to us, the more we got into the work and actually working with our amazing dramaturg Saffron Benner, was this idea that we wanted to bring out the brokenness or the fragmented nature of the American dream, and how all of these characters in some way are reaching for something that is perhaps not just outside of their grasp, but history might show us now in 2026 was never in their grasp perhaps to begin with. And was that dream ever in existence, or was it even there for them at all? And that, I think, for us gave the piece its glittering dark heart, and it also gave us permission, once we uncovered that heart, to actually go, this is actually a romantic tragedy, and the offer is actually quite melancholic towards the end, but it actually has a beautiful reverberation through to the world we live in now, because all these characters and all of their dreams still exist.
Yeah.
Whether they achieve or capture or reach and have that dream in their grasp is another thing altogether.
Yeah, yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks so much. Am I allowed to ask a little question of Dan and Nick? Obviously, both of you are renowned for being very directors with strong visions in your own right, and either one of you could have directed this work alone. I wondered what was your collaborative creative vision for the work, and how did you navigate co-directing together?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I think that, Dan and I do probably share a bit of a similar taste and style in what we hope to achieve. We both like to... I'm a better singer, and I think I'm a better dancer, although there's been some pretty good dance moments when he's been, playing around in rehearsal. But I think that we share a similar aesthetic, and we kind of like to push scale. We like to, push boundaries and stuff like that with the actual physical world that we realise. And I think that, our conversations early on was, in a piece like this, to be achieved in the time we had, a new work, lots of split, multiple hats being worn, I think it really could have only been achieved if you had a bit of a divide and conquer approach to it. So I think we approached that from the beginning with kind of going, okay, well, what's kind of our primary wheelhouse? What's our sort of real, kind of worth in a collaboration like this? And we kind of were able to really, split the table in two and go, well, you're focusing on this and you're focusing on this. And that can be challenging sometimes too, because of course, as a director or as a co-director, you do have to have, and you have eyes on everything, but you can't do everything and be everywhere all at once. And that came really to head last week when we were up in Toowoomba. I went up the hill and started taking and plotting the show while Dan remained here in Brisbane working detail with the actors. So I guess it's just been that. It's been a constant chat of what's happening, a lot of meeting up before and after to kind of reflect on in real time what's working and what's not working, and not everything worked all the time, and we had to plan it and then be flexible enough to shift it and to approach it differently if that wasn't working. We also both had the incredible support of Nerida, who was able to be the sounding board and instigator of many ideas and the realizer of lots of ideas. So it's incredible to have a team of 3 people effectively at the helm of something to really split and to work on multiple things at once. We were working across both Queensland Theatre spaces and Shake and Stir spaces, which fortuitously are just next door to each other, but you can imagine all the set pieces being pushed from warehouse to warehouse. Gold pianos running up and down Merivale Street. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of my thought.
I think I would say one of the ways to understand the relationship is it's actually very pragmatic. I remember one point in Toowoomba last week where it's like, all right, we're going to pause down in a sequence, and Nick's like, I'll take this, I'll redo the flies, and I'll look at the smoke, and I'll talk to Trent, and I'll go, okay, I'll tell Nellie and Ethan this note. And it's like, okay, and break. And then we're like, break. And then you're able to move across a work that's very ambitious and very large very quickly. Yeah. So, yeah, it's about finding a kind of almost military tactical language with which to, I don't know, get this thing up.
It's really nice too to have someone to fall on, it's not in a bad way, but have someone to rely on and to be able to sort of, pass the baton to when either is needing time to do other things. And with Dan, a lot of his time was spent, he was able to spend time out of the room working on the script with Nellie. So there was lots of things happening as, it's a new adaptation. We thought we had something really great going into day one of rehearsals, but it's not long until you realise, okay, now we're seeing it needs changes. do you lock it because you don't have the time or the people to do that, or do you use that opportunity to continue to make those changes and go, right, well, today I'm doing this and tomorrow you're doing that, and then it all changes again on the next day. So it's been a ride, that's for sure, but it's great.
Beautiful, thank you. Christina, you're up. Your favourite. Now, speaking of ambitious, I have been lucky enough to see this design. It is extraordinary. I read in your creative notes for the program that the design of this adaptation centres around the key ideas of memory and illusion. And I was wondering if you could talk to us about how do you realise that in a design?
I mean, I think in terms of realising those ideas, the lovely thing about working in the theatre is that you've got a machine that does that just automatically. The proscenium arch theatre is a frame, and it's a frame in which we can conjure up imagery or spaces or illusions, and we can get rid of them. So we've sort of leaned really heavily into theatre and theatre making as a device. So I think what you're going to see is moments where we can reveal scenes that are very layered, scenes that have got a lot of depth or life to them, but then actually expose how they are made, sort of see the work that goes on. The workings, the trappings. Well, and the labour that goes on behind the illusion. It's been I guess what you'd call like a meta-theatrical or a consciously theatrical choice, a choice that really sets us in a theatre space. Yeah, beautiful, thank you.
And that kind of leads me to you, Trent, and I've got to say, talking about lighting for me is quite elusive. It's a little bit like dancing about architecture. I just find the art form elusive. So I was wondering if you could talk to us about how you speak off the design that has been created by Christina, because I see that there's a lot of colour in the design, in the costumes, in parts of the set. How do you conjure memory and illusion as opposed to reality, in colour, without it looking like fruit salad,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we go through the whole fruit salad in the night, but we are very conscious of the choices we make along the way.
Yeah.
I would go back to the smoke note earlier, because smoke is a really primary material for us to help conjure memory, and it's got this like phenomenal, mysterious kind of quality to it. And we've got, 12 or 14 different smoke machines on stage. Do they? I'm not. But we work very hard in kind of activating the smoke and helping that kind of either reveal or bring a set piece, which is a memory, into play. And the great joy of light, and the reason why I'm so deeply in love with it and spent my life using it, is that it's not there unless there's something in its way. This stage could be full of light, and you'd never know until there was a body or a burst of smoke in its way. So that's the great kind of jumping off point for the design is the smoke, and then how to light the smoke, with texture or angle or colour or all those things that we use. Is that enough?
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's fascinating. Thank you, Nerida. Obviously, the audience is intrigued by the three hats you have to wear as movement director, choreographer, intimacy coordinator. How do you bridge those three roles? How do they speak to each other? And how do you create a movement language in a work that moves from Myrtle's apartment to a speakeasy to Gatsby's parties, where you've got very different settings and very different uses of the body in space, and yet you need to create a cohesive movement vision for the work?
Well, I'll talk about the three hats to begin with, because I guess for me, the hats, it's just one big hat. All the hats are already there. So I guess how to explain it is choreography is when you watch something and you're like, that looks like dance. That's a dance number. So obviously with Gatsby, you think about the parties and Charleston and styles like that. So you're going to see dance numbers. Whereas movement direction is how do you find the nuance in the embodiment of every character? How do you find how a set moves together, which is really important in this design, which is kind of very fragmented and things build and dissolve. And so choreography as a broader lens kind of sits in every gesture and every character and how we use set pieces and becomes a lens across the entire work. And intimacy coordination is about the choreography of intimate moments between characters, which for me just feels like part of what I already do. And in Australia, it is kind of a newer craft, but in other parts of the world, it's sort of is something that kind of happens more kind of often. So for me, it feels like it sits within what I'm already doing anyway, and the way that I look at bodies in space and characters and finding the texture of individual movements within, you know, the whole landscape. And then in terms of this work, I obviously researched a lot of the dance styles that we associate with Gatsby and America in the 20s. So I did a lot of that. And I think in popular culture and the way that we associate what our thoughts of Gatsby is, there are certain styles that people think about. And I dug a little bit deeper, and there's some very interesting styles from that time. So I kind of used the technicalities and the qualities of those styles and then looked at it, what I find interesting, and then created a new vocabulary based on that. But also, I'm a big words person, and I think the novel is very poetic, and there's some very beautiful language in the novel. And so there was a lot of things around the psychology and the poetry that I hung on to kind of create an overall movement vision that then was obviously pitched to these guys and fit within the overall language. And I guess something that Nick said before is I sometimes become like the little way to sew different things together. And that's how movement kind of becomes a framework within it all.
Guy, the music, the sound design, obviously set in the 20s, in the jazz age, and I'm assuming jazz was a great inspiration for your oral vision for the work, but you've got a mix, I understand, of original work, original music and already established music. How do you bridge the gap and have a cohesive vision there?
Well, in this case, the idea of Gatsby, and particularly the essence of Gatsby, the character, the idea of it is a sense of the futuristic, a sense of something we've never seen before. That is the wonder of Gatsby. We still talk about it. We imagine things we've never seen before. The time when this story is set, the jazz age had been 30 years old. Literally 30 years old. It started in the 1890s in New Orleans when the Spanish Armada and all the bands disbanded and the streets were filled with cheap instruments. So this was very, very young in the era of what we consider jazz, but it's also an era that as modern audiences, we don't have a lot of familiarity with. We have familiarity with a couple of styles, but very few. And so it was really important to me to bring that sense of futurism into the telling of this story, to really allow it to engage with modern audiences. So there is a mix of songs from the era, beautiful songs and ballads and blues, but also a big influence from what I consider to be a big part of the novel. The novel slips into these incredibly poetic, near psychedelic moments, which to me sound like they're straight out of the beat poets of the 50s. The language, the images that he creates in 1924 could have been written in the 50s, which is another era of literature which is very closely tied to jazz. So there's elements of an influence from free jazz and bebop movements of the 50s, as well as even modern dance music inspired, jazz influenced work. And I've tried to blend all of those and pay tribute to all of those elements in this.
Now I'd like to move on to our, not mine, I've got nothing to do with it, fantastic cast. I've been lucky enough to see a run in the room, so I can attest to the performances that are being carved at the moment. I want to get to, I'd love to get to all of you, and I'll keep an eye on time, but I will get definitely to some of you. Shiv, here we go.
Let's go.
He's in the canon, isn't he? You're taking on a role that, you know, there's Hamlet, there's Mr. Darcy, there's the Great Gatsby, and it's not even like it's just Gatsby. He has to be great.
He's got to be great.
And I imagine that the pressure is extraordinary to hold that mantle, but you're carving somebody, he's such an elusive character, and you're carving someone who is so intoxicating yet evasive, charming and yet slippery. He's so multifaceted. I wonder how you have discovered your incarnation of him, because he is so unique and he's so beautiful. His heart is just so large and beating on the outside of his chest. I wonder, what was your in for him?
Well, firstly, thank you. That's beautiful, and I hope I can live up to that. But I guess my in was to not, apart from reading the novel, not look at anything else.
Yeah, great.
Not watch the films. And kind of use my own experience to meet the work. I think we know definitely that he's an outsider, and at various points, for various reasons, I've felt that way in life. So I think using some of my own, I don't know, history or things that I might have been through, I've put that kind of on here.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I guess that was my main in. It was like, excuse me, I'm choking up.
Yeah.
I think, just to make it highly personal, something that people have this idea, a character that people have an idea about. And like you said, there's a lot of expectation on it. I think the only way to make it, to root it in reality, is to give it 100% what I know.
Yes, it's wonderful, because you truly, you know, as I was writing notes about tonight, I kind of went, it's so clear to me that you are the vessel for him, you know, and that you're absolutely embracing yourself in your incarnation of him. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. You're in for a treat, everybody. I'd like to move to Jess, because Jess, of course, is the great love of Gatsby's life. On the surface of things, Jess, Daisy seems like a very entitled, wealthy woman who doesn't have at all the struggles in life that other characters, of course, in the work do. And yet we know that beneath her is a sense of real loneliness and emptiness. I wonder if you can speak to that and how you navigated those two worlds of Daisy to carve for us someone who is so brittle. She, you know, I look at her and I think, it's almost like I could put you in Tennessee Williams. You know, you're carving this. She looks like a little figure in a glass menagerie. You know, you're carving something so crystalline. I wonder how you bridge those gaps in her.
Yeah, I think. Obviously having the text to go back to at any point in time has been really, really helpful. I think to bridge that gap between, we talked a lot in the room about public and private, and the masks that high society wear, because it's a game that they play, that they know, that they feel really safe in. Yes. And speaking to her a hole or a void that just can't quite be filled, I think holding on to what it means to sit in that game and to be part of that game can be incredibly lonely, but it is one that she knows and knows really well. Yeah. So I think that's the torment that I have attempted to dive into. And yeah, the things that stumble upon her at a time when I don't think she thought there was anything that could possibly take her out of this particular point in her life. It just smacks her in the face.
Yeah.
And that's really, really exciting to play.
Yeah.
And also devastating at times.
Yeah, of course. Beautiful, thank you. Ryan, it's called The Great Gatsby, but it could be called Nick Carraway because, of course, Nick Carraway is the writer of the work, the narrator of the work, and your character often talks about being inside and outside himself, and that was fascinating to me watching the run because the adaptation has made much of the fact that you're a writer and that you are inside and outside the work. And it's strange to me because in many ways the other characters in the play are the active characters and you are very reactionary, and yet you're the character we begin and end with. And so I was fascinated to know what you felt, the world of these characters, how they shifted Nick. Like what changes for Nick?
Yeah, it's. I think for me the answer is almost twofold. In we see. In one sense, we see Nick going through the events and realizing things and learning things about himself and the people that he associates with and sort of the American dream and the East. And sort of by the end of the story in the novel, he wants to go back to the Midwest, kind of like has that dream of like the American pastoralism, like go back to a simpler life. But then there's also the added layer of, in this play especially, why he's writing the play and what he's hoping to find by going back to it. So he sort of experiences it and something's not quite solved. And so I sort of was asking myself the question, why does he then feel the need to write it down and go back to it and go over everything all sort of slowly? And I think there's an element of, like you said, he's often sitting and watching and, like he says, reserving judgment. Doesn't mean he doesn't judge everyone. It's sort of how he says in the book. He's like, I reserve judgment, and then goes on to tell you everything he thinks about everyone. But tries to give people the benefit of the doubt. And I think part of the crux for me, for Nick, is in going back over the story, is there something he could have done? Is there a way he could have acted to prevent the tragedy that takes place?
Yeah.
And so he's sort of like working through his own guilt while remembering this magnetism he had to this man, this amazing man who was full of hope and who just putting all the kind of materialistic, I don't know what the word, braggadocio aside, he kind of like found this human who he's really interested in. And I think Nick's interested in the people and not so much the spectacle.
Yes.
I think that's something I really love about the character. And so he goes back and he looks at these people and how they changed him and asks himself what he might have done to, had he acted, change things.
Great, thank you. Jem, you're playing Tom Buchanan, and there are a lot of preconceived ideas about Tom.
You're all right.
Yeah. Indeed, your wife calls you a brute at one point, and I know that there's a real component of that in the novel, of course, and in the work. But I see in your characterisation that you've worked very hard to work beyond, to look at the nuance beyond that label. And I wanted to know how you went about shading him beyond that label.
Great question, Kristen. I think the title of brute is kind of the end point we get to, and to say that it actually surmises a lot of things that takes a sit-down dinner to get through. And so I think for myself, it's any show that I've done, especially in the last year where I've found myself playing some really hyper-masculine roles, I always enter it knowing that's probably... I'll start there. I'll start with a large man myself, and I'll be loud and proud and wave my arms around and say, this is acting. But eventually it gets to the point of going, okay, well, how does someone end up in this situation? And as we know with Gatsby, like there are so many conversations around class and entitlement and those kind of things. And if we know the end point is this brutish quality, that actually is just the final destination of these conversations of who deserves what, how has the world worked for so long, who does the world benefit? And so, yes, it's very easy to say Tom Buchanan's a brute, but I think once we dip below that surface level, we actually have a man that embodies a system that has failed a lot of people for a long time, and a comfort within that system has led to outlandish and bold and brazen qualities. And that is something I discovered 4 days ago.
Great.
And I thought I might sprinkle a bit of that on top.
Just in the nick of time for opening night.
Because screaming at my friends is not working.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. Livy, you're playing Jordan Baker in the production, and she's just this stylish, stunning woman of sass and dry humour, and she has arguably some of the best lines ever given to anyone from any playwright ever. But she's absolutely, the woman you're carving is someone who's absolutely of the world she's living in, but she's a modern woman, and there's talk of her being a modern woman. I wondered if you could talk to us about how you thought about the renegade in Jordan.
Just quick thanks to Nellie and Dan for those singers.
Yeah,
they've written sort of what I say to be what everybody wants to be, wishes they could be, and the way they wish they could speak and act and be in the world, and that's a really exciting thing to step into. So as far as that sort of modern woman, that renegade, in exploring her, I mean, I guess I'm a bit of a modern woman myself, and what that has felt like in the world, not having children, being an artist, an entrepreneur, things like that is like carving your own way, and you get a lot of pushback. And what then happens is you have to be a bit stronger and a bit more forceful, and you have to kind of fight your way into spaces that it's not easy to get into, and that creates. Again, we talk a lot about these masks like public and private. You end up coming across a hell of a lot more confident and strong than you might be on the inside, just to be able to get through. And I sort of found in the rehearsal process, I sort of went, where does this strength come from, and where can I find it in her? And I've sort of found it in my age and my experience, and I kind of went, you know, I can use that. I can use my time on this earth and what I've found in those spaces to put in her. And then there is this relationship with Daisy that I have found not in the book but in the creation, where I have felt very protective of her, and they are such different human beings. They're two women of the same age, raised in the same town in Louisville, in Kentucky, you know, wealthy parents, but they have ended up on completely different ends of the spectrum. They're different physically, they're different where they are in their lives. You know, Daisy has a child and a husband, and Jordan is unmarried and a professional sportswoman, and it's like, how do you end up on those different paths? And I think sometimes what you witness in life and experience, and I have seen what her experience of married life and family life has been, and you go in the opposite direction, you know, to sort of split apart from that. And I think that has been interesting as well in the creation of this character. I've been given quite a lot to work with, which has been really great, and to make her stand out from Daisy and from the rest of what her opinion is about people and about the time and about what she's supposed to be. And she's got the power and the confidence to comment on that, which is really cool.
Great, thank you. I'm very mindful of the fact that I know a lot of you are going to want to ask questions, and I'm terrible because I've got questions for every single person up here. So if we get time, I'll get back to the rest of the cast because I've got them. But for now, I'll open it up to you. If anybody has any burning questions, of course, you can direct them toward people who haven't answered anything tonight. And I can repeat those questions, and then hopefully we can pass the microphones down. Has anybody got anything that's really burning for them? Yes.
What research did you do for the play, and how different is it to the novel?
To the novel. Who would like to take that? Would someone like to take this who hasn't answered a question? What research? The question was, what research have you done, and how different is this adaptation to the novel?
Yeah. G'day, mate. Thanks for the question. What research have I done? Now, I'm sure I've done research. In this moment, I'm just struggling to remember it. But I will say, I will highlight a clear difference is my character. So in the play, he's written as a Jewish man. And in this play, he's not. And a big part of that is when you read Wolfsheim in the play, he's not really described in a positive light. He's described in a very racially motivated way that isn't the best of representation of Jewish people. And his nose has more characterization than the character, you know? And in this play, he is the sickest guy you've ever met, you know? And he sort of houses the speakeasy, which was illegal bars because they were in prohibition, whereas an open space for anyone to come along. And in the play, there's a queer couple, you know, and Gatsby feels at home. And it's even Tom Buchanan is welcome, you know. So even Tom Buchanan, believe it or not. So it's that's one main difference I can highlight. And in terms of research, the funnest thing has been the accents, because everyone here most people speak with a New York accent at a different time. So it's been very interesting to try highlight an accent that is from New York, but roughly from the before, you know? And yeah, that's all I can speak to now if anybody wants to speak about their research that they've done.
Anybody else? Someone saying? Is anyone else got a question, a burning question? Yes? Up on the balcony? Could you repeat that? Are we using the balcony? Yes. I would imagine the balcony is going to be used.
It is.
That right?
So what you're seeing at the moment up there, we've just got some hatches that open to give us access to the lights that get rigged and focused from the balcony. So if you look up, you can see all these hatches are open. That's only during Bump In and Tech Week that we have that open, and then that all shuts back down so that patrons can have a nice view to the stage.
Yeah, don't worry. Anybody else? Yes. Great question. This person down the front has just asked, is there much difference between staging in the Toowoomba Theatre, the Empire Theatre in Toowoomba, and here in the Playhouse, and has much have to shift? I get the feeling
we're about to find out, aren't we?
Some stuff is shifting. Strap in.
Ask us on Friday. Woo! This is, a little bit. If you've never been to the Empire Theatre in Toowoomba, it is stunning. It's one of my most favourite theatres in all of the country. It's so delicious and gorgeous, and going up there feels like you're going on drama camp, because you go and live up on the mountain. Oh, that's my phone. Live up on the mountain, and you know, we have the amazing friends at Toowoomba cook for us, and it's a different experience. But the main difference in that theatre is it's a 1,500 seater, so it's almost like a quarter more the size of this, and the back of that theatre feels like it's over at the ABC, you know, on Grey Street. Like, it feels a long way away. Whereas the Playhouse, even sitting here right now, I'm not sure if you guys think about this, but it feels so much more intimate, because the first row of the audience in Toowoomba was literally 5 or 6 metres away. So it's kind of not... It feels like a really lovely place to put this design. So we will be making changes along the way. There are over 250 quick changes throughout the show. So these amazing people down here spend probably upwards of 45 seconds in one costume before they change into another one. So we've done a lot more to make these big quick change booths that you can see behind you. So there's some little things that we, teething issues that we'll iron out over the next few days to put it in here. But Toowoomba was a lovely first stop for it because it looked very gorgeous and it's Art Deco pros.
Oh, I bet. Anybody else? Yes.
How do you actually go about acquiring the licensing to host or be able to actually put this production on? And then what sort of restrictions are there around your sort of artistic license for where you can go with it?
This was a question. Did everyone hear that question? No. What's the process of getting the rights for the work, and what kind of restrictions are around your artistic license to shift the work, change the work, if you so choose?
So with this particular text, I think it was around just before COVID, it actually came into the public domain. So, which means you don't. Before that, you had to pay. You had to apply for the rights to adapt it or to, bring any of the IP across to a stage version or a song or anything like that. So, as of 2020, I'm pretty sure it was, or maybe 21, it came into the public domain, which was probably why you would have seen a whole bunch of different. A whole variety of different offerings that were based on Fitzgerald's novel. I think further to that, though, what we do have to do is make sure that we are respectful of the text. People that are coming to see this piece, it's a lot of people's favourite novels. There's characters within this piece that people hold very dearly to their hearts. There's moments in every classic text that people are always looking for, and whilst we cannot please everybody, it is something that we are very passionate about, both at Shake and Stir and Queensland Theatre Company, that we are respectful and pay homage to the original work and the reason why it stood the test of time. So I think whilst we don't have to pay royalties on something like this, we make sure that it's something that we're very careful with.
Great, thanks, Nellie. Yes, right in the middle here.
Yeah, it's quite shocking at times to be reading a text that's from 100 years ago and to be thinking these things are still relevant. And it's a bit saddening at times, especially in the last couple of years with the heightened nature of some pretty radical ideas, in my opinion, to come to the surface again. I think with our production, I mean, any play that we do, you always want to ask that question of what's the relevance of this piece right now. And funnily enough, day by day, it seems to be more and more relevant, where we start to talk about questions of not only divide in class systems, but also this idea of the dream that we're all trying to chase, of some kind of stability within a financial situation or a societal situation. But then to dig a little deeper in that and going, well, who are we actually allowing to buy into that dream, and who is that not allowed for at all? Our production in particular, we've really tried to bring a lot of that stuff to the surface. So hopefully it feels very relevant to you. But yes, that shock and awe of reading something that is so poetic from 100 years ago to go, damn, I swear we should have sorted this one out a little while back, but we're still doing it. Oh, right, cool. Change the record.
Thank you.
Great question, though.
Great question. Anybody else? Yes, down here. This was a question, thank you very much. For those of you who may not have heard that, this lady asked the question, from the moment you decide to say, let's do Great Gatsby, how long is the process from that decision being made through the casting process, rehearsal process, pre-production process? Dan or Nick or Nellie, producers here,
take
might
this
need
one
to
on.
take
Do you
this
want
one
to
on.
take this one on? Oh, okay. Well, look, it should take a lot longer, probably. I'm so proud of, I might get emotional here, of everyone on this stage, because this is such an ambitious work to get up. Like, this is a big piece of the canon to put on stage. And we made this decision to do this, I think, even maybe like 1 year ago, or even like under a year ago. So that was, it went from germ of idea to what you see now in a very, very short amount of time. And that was for a myriad of reasons, but one was that when the timing feels right and the energy feels right and it's in the zeitgeist, so it's landing so beautifully. It's one of the struggles or exciting things as well of being artistic director, is going, this is going to slap, this is going to really ring for audiences in 2026. Like, I can feel it, and so let's push to get it on. Now, that requires a team of Olympic skill and immense faith and trust. And these people, oh my God, they could build an ocean liner in like 6 months, I believe. Like, they could put them in a room and they can take us to space in 2 weeks. Like, these people are absolute magicians. And all of those people down there, those actors, I cannot wait for you to see what they do, because we have been growing and mutating this script in a live environment over the past like 6 weeks. And what they are doing is absolutely incredible. So to answer your question, it should take a lot longer, but with a big lot of charm, nerve, much caffeine, much champagne, and plenty of fuel. We're going to try and do it in record time. I'm pretty sure we are setting some sort of Guinness Book of Records with this one. So, oh yeah, actually, we should add to that and say this is a different process for us because.
I'm happy to chime in.
Well, okay, great, yeah.
I'll chime in. I'll take the mic again. No, because this has been one of the most fascinating processes of my career, because we talk about it being a design-led process, and what that kind of meant was that we used the book. You know, we all had the book, and we knew what all of the big hitting visual beats were, all of the things that we needed to achieve in the story. You know, we could kind of create an arc in transitional space and big picture ideas between the creative team, and then the writers, that, you know, their brain is so kind of packed with the work, and they were then able to then dig into it and almost write to what the design needed to morph, you know. And the writing is spectacular. You know, all of these little narration. Because we were shooting a little bit blind for a little while there, you know, in terms of a traditional process that our careers have been kind of built on. But as you say, like, Olympic level is across the board, and the writing has just like absolutely thrived inside the design world we've created.
Yeah, and just one little thing to that. I mean, and the reality of the lack of time is that there still are time deadlines that need to be adhered to. And being a design-led process, you know, you've got to allow enough time to build the thing. And like in a world where, and it's a good thing and the bad thing about new work, you can change the parameters and you can continue to tweak it. But sometimes with existing work or in licensed work, where there are really heavy restrictions on what you can change within the text, like it or not, that gives you a locked off, that's what you have to achieve. But when you're constantly in this process where you're going, it's good, but it would be better if we could just do that. But by the time you're realising what it is with cast on the floor in week 2, 3, 4 of rehearsals, the set's already built. So then it's like, well, this piece, just wheel that back into the back. We don't need that anymore, you know. So it's a really thrilling process to be a design-led production and to be a new work concurrently, and to still be able to have no actors throw up their hands and go, what the hell is it? You know, they were all so willing to come on the ride till the very last moment, because I think as a company, everybody was really invested in getting it right. And that came before anybody's personal, you know, processes that may or may not have been really good for them in the past. So it's been a really incredible process to both adhere to what we have to adhere to, that you can only get the time you can get in the theatres. That's why the Toowoomba relationship is so good. You get at least a chance to build it. So, I mean, we got into the theatre here yesterday and it's opening on Thursday, so this wouldn't be possible in 4 days, but we've already had a week and a half in Toowoomba, so it's kind of a 2.5 week tech process over 2 venues. That adds its own complications. We're basically in a mini tour. It's been a really, really thrilling kind of process in not a lot of time, but you never have a lot of time, and it's never enough time. So we have been able to, I agree, achieve something that's pretty extraordinary under the circumstances, which really were self-imposed circumstances. But anyway, here we are.
I think we've got time for one more in the middle here. Yes. I'm so pleased you asked this question because that was my question for them. This lady has asked the question, what is it like for the ensemble? And this would be great for Ethan and Lauren and Rachel and our swings, Bridget and Sean, who have to swing between vastly different characters, incredibly fast costume changes. What's it like to have to flip on a dime, not just change the costume, but actually have to carve very nuanced characters in the meantime, very quickly?
It's about as easy as it sounds. No, we have an incredible team of makers of these costumes that have been able to be altered as we are figuring out what we need them to become as we run, as well as keeping their cool and telling me to calm down and breathe, and it's okay that you're sweaty, like the shirt will still get on, just calm down, please. It's just kind of still a very new process, getting it all to slot in, but the more that we get a go at it, the easier it's becoming, and it would not be possible without the huge support that we have from our team.
Yeah, I think this is my first main stage show, so I've never done anything like this. And when I got cast, thank you. When I got cast, Dan sent me a message and was like, "This is going to be the Olympics for you," and it is. I changed 13 times in the first act, and some of them are very, very, very quick. And safe to say that first show we did when we. was interesting behind stage. People were coming on half-dressed sometimes, but we're getting there with it. And to answer your question, it is difficult because I've got I play Wilson as well, and there's a through line with that character and in the second act is quite an emotional through line. So I'm sort of trying to manage that with also sort of jumping in between smaller characters that you still want to be as specific as possible. So that's definitely a challenge. But as the costume changes have gotten more and more, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know which leg to put in which side of the pants. It just makes it a lot easier, and now I can really hone in on those characters.
I concur. That first show that we did, I think all my acting was left in grade 10. I just came on stage and I don't even know what I did. It was a blur. I was just on stage the whole time, just drilling eyed, like, what the hell am I doing? But it really is a commitment to the costume team. Like, some costumes you see and they look full, but we're like wearing like half, like a corset top, but it looks like we're wearing a full shirt. But yeah, the costume team are truly magical, and we're getting better. We're getting good. Now I can kind of remember what voice I got to put on, you know? Hopefully by Saturday. It's not just Donne. It's talking, yeah.